Hello and welcome to a Thursday evening, or depending where you're at, Thursday night or Friday morning or Thursday afternoon, I guess if you're in like Hawaii, live stream. Let's double check our audio before I get too far into this.
Hello.
Hey,
Welcome to a
that sounds
Thursday evening, or
that
depending
sounds
where you're
good.
at,
Okay,
Thursday night or Friday morning.
I have a lot set up here, but it's pretty fun. I'm excited about it. We should be using all kinds of different stuff. And everything's being run through the YoloBox Extreme over here. So we're going to go through all of that because there have been some cool updates here that I kind of wanted to explore. But we can also Q&A chat about anything else. Like it doesn't have to just be YoloBox related. That's just kind of what I wanted to use. I wanted to do a stream like this last weekend, but then I had some network issues and it didn't work out. But today all is good, and so I've been able to set up and run the entire stream from the YoloBox, which also includes popping up comments and cool stuff like that. So thank you to everyone who's being here. I have not done, last time I did a nighttime-ish stream was back in October, actually with Bronson from Audio Hotline, who I saw in the chat. Yeah, there we go. Boom. That was in October. Prior to that, I don't know last time I did like an evening nighttime stream was. So I kind of thought it'd be fun to do that today, to try it out. I didn't have a video published today because I put out this week's video on Tuesday just because it had some stuff in it that was like super relevant to Amazon Prime Day, and it just made more sense to like not put that out the night or the day before that ended. So then it left Thursday open, and I thought, hey, instead of doing I did a stream on Saturday morning to see how people like that. Normally when I stream, it's been like Wednesday mornings, weekday mornings. That's kind of what usually fits into my schedule. But I thought, let's try a weekday evening and see if that works for different people, or, see if there's any kind of preference or if it doesn't matter at all. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Keith is asking if I'm using the math. Definitely not using the math. Am I using the map function on the YoloBox? Not at this moment, because I want to show people how to turn it on, what that means and stuff. But I will be using it because that's one of the cool updates that I wanted to share. Ryukin's here. I build capture. Hello, hello. And of course, Gil is here. Matt is already trying to get on the map. And you'll understand what I mean in a second. I see all of the YOLO familiar people because they know exactly what to do. See, here we go. This time slot works great for the Aussies down under. Aussies. Is it Aussies or Aussies? Stream's looking great. Cool. It should be in 4K. I did a whole bunch of tests last weekend and today. I had to rebuild the whole setup today. So I think the audio is in sync. I'm using the Rode Wireless Micro. But if the audio is too quiet, too loud, a little out of sync, we can tinker with that. I figure it'd work. 4K looks sharp for the live stream. Really interested in comparing a YoloBox Extreme with the Stream Deck setup. I mean, I feel like that's very much an apples and oranges situation. Let me show you what I got going, and then you'll kind of have an idea of what this setup is. So right here, you can see me. I have, I'm talking to you, and I have the YoloBox Extreme right here. The cool thing with the Extreme is that it has 8 inputs. I'm not using all. How many inputs do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, I do have 8 inputs, but I'm using kind of a mix. I'm not using the 8 HDMI inputs. 5 of the 8 HDMI inputs are 4K. So that's why it's like, if you want an actual, factual 4K streamer, switcher, multicam thing, this is currently about the only option out there. And we're gonna talk about kind of why that's exciting to me, at least. So anyway, and the camera I'm using right now, this is the YoloCam S7 with a 25mm lens. And then I have the YoloCam S3 up here. This is actually mounted on my boom arm normally for my microphone. Why is it up here? I don't know. I just wanted to include the S3. I do have my Sony FX3, which is not currently in focus. Let me fix that. I'm using an EF lens on it, and sometimes it doesn't like to stick in. Well, you're making a good argument for the... Come on, buddy. It's like really wanting to focus on that. I don't know. There you go. Maybe I can do I need to re-tap here. Hello, focus. Oh, is it because I'm zoomed? Sometimes the focus gets strange because I'm using the FX3's zoom function. There, now I think it's focused on me. Zoom in. There we go. So there's the FX3. I wanted to zoom in on the FX3 so that it would match the YoloCam's framing a little bit. And I don't really actually plan on using the FX3 today very much at all, but it's just like, since I'm using so many different cameras and such a different configuration, I kind of wanted a tried and true thing just in case, which ironically is the one that didn't work. And then over here I have, this is actually the eMeet Pixie, which I don't have, it's just plugged in through USB to the YoloBox, so I have gestures turned off, so I can't do the tracking on it. But I just wanted to include it because currently, I did a video on how budget friendly these are, and I think I saw this for like $84 today. So this is an $84 4K PTZ webcam, which is cool. And then I've got the OBSBot Tail 2 up here. Wait, that's not the right remote. Where's my remote? Here it is. With some presets. So I have a preset configuration, which will slowly zoom in on the YoloBox Extreme. So if you wanted to see the setup here, I saw Keith asking a question about was this a 3D printed stand or not. Yes, I did 3D print. I didn't design it. I just found a thing on Maker World, a stand. And this is actually the Bamboo PLA Pure filament. So I'm working on a video about that as well for Saturday. So this is the setup. This is what's running the whole stream. I've got all my different inputs here. There's the receiver for my microphone. There's power for the YoloBox. This green cable is the Pixie webcam. This other cable is the YoloCam S3. This is actually the YoloBox being a source for itself. And then I've got my computer in case we need to go on a website. I've got, what is this? This is the OBSBot. This is the FX3, and this is the YoloCam S7, which if you're wondering what that is, if you haven't seen videos, you're not familiar with the S7, that is right here. Bam! That is YOLO's Micro Four Thirds webcam. So if you look at it, there's nothing, there's no buttons, no screen, no anything. I have, pardon my PTZ cinematography skills, I have my FX3 over here, and if you look at these two cameras, let me see if I can like zoom out a little bit. The S7 kind of looks similar to the FX3, except there's no buttons or anything on it. So it's, I'm running it through HDMI right now, but I could be running it through USB if I wanted. And then the blue cable there is just for power. And it is Micro Four Thirds, so it has a 25mm lens on it, which now YOLO does actually make their own lens for this camera. This is a Lumix lens. And YOLO's own lens, I believe, is 18mm, which would be a little more ideal because you can kind of even see here in this shot, I have to put the S7 further back, and then the FX3 has a 20mm lens on it, so that's not really fair, but I have to zoom in on the FX3, which still does not want to focus on me anymore. There it is. I have to zoom in on this lens to kind of match the framing. So the idea of having a wider lens for the S7 sounds really, really fun. And then if we can play around with my cinematography skills, here is the YoloCam S3. I just put it up on the boom arm that I normally have my Sennheiser MKH50 boom mic on. So that's there. And then if we go down, I don't know if you will, oh, there it is. There is the eMeet Pixie down here. Doop, doop, doop. That little guy right there. Which, I mean, this looks great. And what's really cool about this, an interesting thing is anytime I've connected a USB webcam to anything, a computer or the YoloBox or whatever, you connect them and they kind of take a minute to boot up. This one, like instantly, as soon as it's connected, the signal goes through, which is kind of cool. So I did a whole video about these last week. And then I actually have, let's see if I can do this here. This is one of the many reasons the YoloBox is super sweet. I then have the NDI camera app on my phone. So if I turn that on, then I have, boop, I have my phone camera. There's a slight delay because I'm using NDI stabilization to make this a better experience for you. But now I can just wirelessly use my phone, which is super helpful if, I don't know, if someone asked something really specific and it was like, can you show me exactly what is plugged in where? I could show you like exactly what's happening or whatever. And then the other thing, which is really fun that I have, is I have the HDMI out going into one of the inputs, so that way I can just show you the YoloBox itself, which has, there have been a lot of really fun updates lately. They've done some huge updates, but one of them, or a couple of them actually, are, if we go into, this is the comments tab, so these are all the comments, obviously, which I need to catch up on. If I click more, now there are a few options. There's a viewer credits option, so if I do that, it's actually going to scroll the names of everyone along with how many comments they have left, obviously with the top commenter, which in this case is Ryukin. and it kind of goes in order. So that's sort of a fun thing to do like at the end of the stream. I think that would be really fun. And then the other option though is a viewer map. So I'm going to turn this on and it's going to tell me that it's going to take a lot of CPU usage. But what this is going to do is, you see this green thing being enabled, it's going to put on a world map. And now when I click on the world map as a source, if you, see Keith already did it, if you say like hello from blank, you don't have to give, you could say hello from California, you could say hello from San Francisco, California. Like, you know, be as vague as you want to be. But if you want to pop up on the map, you can say hello from blank in the comments and it'll just pop you right up on the map there, which is really fun. Kind of a cool way to see where people are. And this is something like I've seen, you know, Aaron Preki do this a ton on his live streams. And, you know, people have done different versions of this, but the fact that it's just built in, I don't have to do anything. I just have to turn on that button and agree that it's going to, it says it's going to use a lot of CPU usage, but if we look, you can see my stats at the top of the YoloBox here. So we're only using 49% of the CPU with all of these sources. We're using 32% of the GPU and half of the RAM, 51% of the RAM. And our signal, we're dropping 0 frames. We're doing 30 frames per second, and we're uploading at 10.5 megabits per second. So that's kind of where we're at there. And that is my setup. And now we have the world map. So again, if you want to pop up on the world map, look at it filling in. Isn't that awesome? It's so cool to like see. Obviously, I guess people could lie. You could be like watching from Antarctica, but I think that's better than like it tracking your IP address or something and doxing yourself on a live stream. So it's such a cool way to just see what's happening and where people are from, because you kind of forget, like, right, I'm in Southern California, so that's kind of my bubble in the world, and to remember that people are in other places is awesome. Okay, I'm gonna catch up. That's my setup that I'm using. We can have all kinds of fun with it. We can talk about all kinds of other stuff. There's a few other things I want to go through here and show you too as time goes on, but you know, it's nothing crazy. So a lot of people seem to say Thursday evening is a fun time to stream. If you do the hello from blank in the chat, I might skip over the comment, but that's because we'll be able to see it on the map. So don't feel ignored if I don't specifically bring that up. Matt says, Frank so loved the map when Aaron was in China. He added it. That's crazy, because Aaron visited Frank. Frank is one of the people from YOLO. Aaron went there in China. Like, that was recent. That was April-ish. So for them to implement, see, that's what YOLO does. For them to implement a whole feature like that quickly, and I'm kind of late to the game too. It's like, it's not super new. I just, last week when I was setting up my stream, I wanted to make sure I was up to date in firmware, updated my firmware, and all this cool stuff was there. We got a super chat. Thank you from Kilobyte808. Appreciate your support, and I'm happy I could help with any kind of helpful advice there. Also, that's a really cool username. Let's see here. Yo Mafia says, holding out before I upgrade my Ultra to see what gets released in August. Do they have things in August? The Ultra and the Extreme have been around. Well, the Extreme's newer than the Ultra. The Ultra's been around for a while, but they just keep updating the firmware, which, like, I mean, you can see here the fact that I'm doing a lot in terms of, like, and this is all over Wi-Fi as well, and it's not really fully taxing this thing at all, so they're still pretty powerful. The Ultra is it's the 4-input, for the most part, 1080 switcher, whereas we can do full 4K. The Ultra has some very limited 4K capabilities, but if you get into that, it's best to think of it as a 1080 switcher. But in terms of everything else, the NDI and the map and the comments and all the other cool features we'll talk about, the Ultra also has all of those too. Can these cameras work on a Rodecaster Video S? I have my list of things. I can't remember if the YOLO cams are on it. I actually have a document. I know I've tested them, but I can't. The Rodecaster videos are so weirdly specific with what works and doesn't work. Let me see. I forget what the document was called. Rodecaster video. No, that's not it. I had a whole thing. I even posted a RCV webcams. There it is. Yes, the S3, S7 both work with the Rodecaster videos. Cool. I thought they did, but I wasn't 100% sure. But check this out. This is a new feature. This is something that I've been wanting for a long time. This might be a little bit crowded on your I don't know what the easiest thing to see is, but this might be a little bit crowded on your screen, obviously, and there's an infinite mirror effect going on. I don't know if you can see, but if you look down like HDMI 4, there's 3 little rings in the corner, HDMI 5, HDMI 6. If you see that icon on one of your inputs, it means that you have a LUT. And so if I tap and hold on that, you get an option here. It can add a LUT. I'm actually not 100% sure if you can see this, but if you can, what you'll see is there's options for LUT. So I have like an S7 LUT, a LUT for the Tail 2, and I have my own LUT. That's the one I use for like my videos and stuff. And so I have that there, and you can adjust the intensity. You can also do some chroma key stuff if you want to as well there. So I'm using so many different cameras. They are not color matched perfectly, but you've been able to add a LUT for a while, which is really cool. But especially for a camera like this, which has no physical controls, you haven't been able to adjust color and things, and they've made huge progress in that. So if I go back here and let's look at the YoloCam S7, which is USB 1 because that's connected through USB. If I tap and hold on that, there's now a camera setting option. I sure hope you can see this. Maybe I should double check the stream and just see if you can. I don't know what it switches to and what it didn't switch to. Because on my view, I can't see that. Let me just see how this is. Okay, good. You can see what I'm seeing. Perfect. So now, if you have a camera connected through USB, you can go in here and you can do color style. So these are kind of presets. Essentially, they have like Sony colors, more red colors, log colors. You can change this. You can even do like vignetting correction, which, oh, actually, right now I kind of like it better without the vignetting correction. This makes the S3 look really, really good. I think because it's so close to a bright light source. We can change the autofocus. We can also go in and now we can do exposure, we can do shutter speed, we can do dynamic range, we can adjust white balance, we can adjust tint and saturation. So if you're trying to, go towards the greener colors of a Sony or the more red colors of a Canon, you can do that. And then you can also go in and adjust the resolution and the frame rate. It looks like I actually need to upgrade the firmware on the camera. I'm not going to do that during a live stream. But now, if you have one of the YoloCams, the S3 or the S7, connected through USB, you can do that. This camera currently is connected through HDMI, so actually it can only add a LUT. But if I plug it in through USB, which I can do simultaneously, then I would have all those options. Other USB webcams, so like for example, I have the Pixie, which is USB 2 down here. If I tap and hold on that, I have the camera setting option, but I don't have as many like color adjustments and things. I only have. Wait, why are we need to switch that to 4K, baby. It looked good when it wasn't 4K. And actually, this is only 30 frames per second. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. Hopefully I didn't just there we go. We're still looking good. Okay. So for other non-YOLO USB cams, you get limited options. But for the YOLO ones, you have, when they're connected through USB, you have a lot more color options than you did before, which is fantastic. I didn't know if that would be possible. I'd hoped that it would be. So I can't really complain. If there's a way to add a version of that to like HDMI sources, that would be even more awesome. From the developer programming side, I don't know what goes into that or if that's even possible. So we'll see. Let's see here. How do you do automated video switching when using a Rodecaster Pro 2 for the audio? Now, that's a good question. On the Rodecaster Video, when you want to do automated switching and you have a Rodecaster Pro connected, you have Rode device to Rode device, there has been an update, it's actually been a while now, that the Rodecaster Video can see all of the inputs on the Rodecaster Pro. So then it can break down all of those things. The YoloBox, not being a Rode device, if we go here to my audio, if I connected it, like right now, see where it says USB-C, that's my wireless microphone. That's where I would connect the Rodecaster Pro if I were using that, and it would just be a USB-C device. I think it's because only a Rode device can see all the inputs from a Rode device. So that would mean, which has been the case, the entire Rodecaster is one audio source. So you wouldn't be able to break out the different sources. There might be someone smarter than me who's figured out a way to do that or a way around it. But as far as I understand it, the entire Rodecaster would be one audio source. Now the Rodecaster does have 2 outputs. So you could connect one USB, maybe you could connect the 2 USBs to 2 separate USB inputs, And then in the Rodecaster's output, you could map one to be one mic, the other output to be the other mic, and then it's like kind of a way around it to do two sources. I'm not going to test that right now because even thinking about it broke my brain, but it could be possible. What's going on with the FX3? So what is going on with the FX3? Let's jump over to the OBSBot here. The FX3 is using a Sigma 20mm f1.4 lens, which I absolutely love, but it is an EF lens that is, it's being adapted. And I think because I like left the frame for so long and for some reason it really loves this foreground object, and maybe if I just zoom out, maybe if I just stop trying to do the zoom, it'll be a little better. The FX3 also, when you zoom in like that, I don't know, it does weird things with focusing. So maybe this will be better. And then I just need to like not leave the frame. I was just trying to make the FX3's frame match the S7's frame because, you know, this is a $700 camera. This is a $4,000 camera. So this full frame camera with an f1.4 lens is probably gonna have better image quality, but this is pretty phenomenal for what is essentially a webcam. And especially, you know, this is a 25mm f1.7, but using like that 18mm where I could get a little bit wider field of view and stuff would be pretty cool. So I think now that I'm zoomed out, the older lens and the way the FX3 focuses, it'll probably be happier, but I guess I could actually, you know what I could do? I can go into the crop. Here, let me show you. We'll go here. We'll tap and hold on the FX3, boop, and we'll go to crop. And now we will scale it. And we can reposition me a little bit. See, this is what I should have done first. And then we just do done. Boom. Now we have the FX3, which should have good focus because the camera itself isn't zoomed in, and the framing is pretty close to the YoloCam, which is, you know, positioned very differently. Hey, I like that. That was a good workaround. Good job. Let's see here. Matt uses a Shoot app on iOS. Shoot. I've not heard about that. Ooh, let's check the map. Oh, we got more people. Oh man, we got New Zealand going on. We got, can I zoom in on the map? I don't think I can. Okay. I like can't see all the country names there. You have to watch on a big screen TV because we're so global here. But we are spreading out. If you want to get on the map, just say hello from wherever you're from. Be as vague or as specific as you'd like. Probably don't give like your home address. If you want to give your town, your region, your state, your country, your continent, you know, go for it. So I think like Australia, if you say like hello from Australia, it just puts you right in the middle there. So if you say like hello from the United States, maybe it puts you in Nebraska or something. That's cool. That's way cool. Streaming is evolving now. This is like, you don't have to stream like this, right? You can stream from your phone. You can just pick up your phone, stream, and be done. You could also do this, and you can also go way, way, way beyond this. But what's cool and why I've been like, there's a couple things. So I love the YoloBox. I've been using it since, I don't know, 6 years ago, I think, since the original YoloBox. Which the original YoloBox was really cool. And I remember when Frank from YOLO was the one who reached out. He was explaining what it can do, and it seemed pretty neat. But it also, like, in a lot of ways, it was almost like a proof of concept device with the more advanced features. Like, you could stream and you can mix the cameras and everything, but like the onboard recording wasn't as reliable. There were like there were just some reliability issues, and it just seemed like, man, this thing is trying to do a lot. And it was the version 1 device, right? Well, it's been 6 years, and there's been not only several different devices, but oh my God, I have no idea. I can't even tell you, I don't know what the number of firmware updates, like the average time span between firmware updates for a YoloBox is. A couple of weeks? like it's the dozens and dozens of firmware updates that at this point, they have paid their dues all these years later. And it's like, not only does it do those basic features, I use my YoloBox to record multicam videos all the time because it does 4K, and then I can you can do ISO recording, but if I just want to essentially have a rough cut done by the time I'm finish, you know, with the video, especially if it's kind of a more simple video and I know what I'm doing and I'm just doing like my 3-camera setup. I use this to record a lot and it works fantastic. And it really streamlines the workflow. And then beyond the basics, now being able to go into 4K, now being able to, we'll go through all the features. Let's go through the pages of things you can do with it, which is really fun. It's been so cool to see like the proof of concept device become the practical device to then kind of catch up with stuff like OBS and Ecamm in a lot of ways. And then there's really nothing else like this out there. Like there just really isn't. It's so incredible. It's not cheap. It actually just had a price increase to about $2,300 because everything, I was surprised they didn't increase it sooner because everything has gone up in price. They did add a $200 or $300 price increase recently just because, you know, it's a little computer and everything related to computers is very expensive now, all the components to manufacture it. So it's about $2,300 now, but for doing, you know, an 8 plus input, a 5 4K input workflow, recording, streaming, whatever, all the other stuff, it's pretty crazy. And then all the, you know, all the added features is pretty nuts. So you don't have to do that. I just really like this. The problem I had lately, which is probably just a me problem, actually I know it's a me problem, is when I wanted to stream with the YoloBox, I had issues connecting my YouTube account because I'm paranoid. And so my YouTube account password is one of like those, you know, it's one of those, if you wrote it out, it would be longer than a football field kind of passwords with strange, bizarre hieroglyphics and stuff in it. And it changes all the time. So like, it's not an easy thing to just like, oh, let me log in and put in my password. That like, I had a hard time connecting my account. And then even when I did, the way YouTube works is when you like log into a device to connect it to your YouTube account, it gets added as like an added service or an added device to your YouTube account. And then YouTube kind of has it on like an approved list. Well, sometimes YouTube decides that even though something is on that approved list, they don't really want to use it. And so you have to like undo it and redo it. And so every time I wanted to stream, it was like I was having to fight YouTube to like get it to work. And then it's not a difficult thing to fix because it mostly just involves entering my password a few times. But when my password is this insane thing that it is, it's like actually kind of hard to do. And even I can't differentiate like certain characters and things in it. So typing it out one by one was really hard. So what you can do now is there is just a browser dashboard for YOLO, and you can just go into your account there. You can add all the different platforms. And then when you log into your account here, which can just be a normal password, like your YOLO account, all those things are right there. So it made it way much easier and way more practical to add my YouTube channel and stream whenever I want. You know, if I were doing it every single day, it probably wouldn't be as much of an issue, but when it's like I'm bouncing between Ecamm and OBS and the YoloBox and all this other stuff, it then became kind of like a tricky thing to do. So anyway, I don't remember what got us on that, but I see everyone saying hello to get on I'm at the part of the chat where everyone was getting on the map. If you want to get added on the world map, just say hello from wherever, whatever location you want to share. I see Gil down there in Florida. Let's see here. Can you recommend which of these 3 would be best for making a commercial rental podcast studio? Rodecaster Pro 2 plus ATEM Extreme ISO, Rodecaster Video plus Rodecaster Pro 2, YoloBox Extreme. You know who I would be interested in, and I could be behind on the chat, and this might have already been answered. I'd be interested in what Gil says, because this is what he does basically every day, is produce podcasts on a professional level for lots of clients. And he uses a little bit of everything. So I'm curious which one he would recommend. I would almost lean towards, in this case, the Rodecaster Video and the Rodecaster Pro. Because it's unlikely you need 4K for a podcast. Maybe, I could be wrong, but you're probably talking about something that's at least an hour long, and that's just 4K is just a lot. And so the added benefits of being able to, like we said earlier, have the Rodecaster Pro, all its channels be seen by the Rodecaster Video, and have all that intermixing and all that auto switching, and the built-in, gosh, you would have 6 XLR inputs with 76 decibels a gain each. That's going to give you like the most amazing built-in audio quality of any of the devices, so that's probably what I would lean towards. But I want to see what Gil says. Why shouldn't I sell my RCV for this immediately? Audio is a big one, right? Like the Rodecaster, some of the OC switchers, the OC Go Stream Duet 8 has dual XLR inputs and super clean preamps and decent built-in equalization, including like a really capable noise gate, which is kind of rare. So that's a good one. But the Rodecaster, like obviously, in terms of overall audio, processing, presets, all that stuff, nothing else really comes close to it. And the fact that the Rodecaster Video can then, you can essentially just attach it to a Rodecaster Pro, and now you have all that, is very powerful. If you're using one microphone though, then it doesn't really matter. And then, yeah, you might want to branch out. You could just do USB-C to the YoloBox. You could use some other USB thing. So it sort of depends. Matt says the Ultra is getting some of the stuff from the Extreme. We're testing it in July and hope to have it out in August. Matt is a beta tester for the Ultra. But that sounds like firmware though, not... Oh, maybe the other comment said holding off on updating my Ultra. Maybe meant firmware update, not like new product update. Yo, Bass for Cars, what's up? What's better for school use? 3 X2Ds or an X2D and an H2D? So my initial thought is that I would go for 3 X2Ds. I think a lot of schools use P1Ss and probably now P2Ss, just single nozzle things. But having taught technology courses in a school for many years, if you can use this more of the same thing, that makes your life easier. You know, parts break because stuff happens. And so the more that you can like swap things out, have spares that will just fit everything easier. You're training your students on one device. They learn how to use one. Now they know how to use them all. So that's kind of what I would lean towards. Whatever you choose is having multiple of the same. Having an H2D on hand though, if you're planning to do projects and things that require that larger form factor, if that's going to be something that is like, if the smaller size of the X2D is going to be a limiting factor you keep running into, then get the bigger one. If you don't think or you don't know, then get multiple of the same. That's what I would say. Totally just my opinion. Ryukin says, do I have to sign in with my YouTube account to use the YoloBox, or is it just a live streaming box? Yes, you do. Like, well, I mean, you asked this before I explained it, but you do add your YouTube account to your YOLO account, and then it's on there. So this does have permission, because you can create, like the stream here, I created it as in like, you can add the thumbnail, you can do the title, you can do the description, you can do the time, you know, like you can do all that here. So it's going into your YouTube channel and it's actually like making changes and stuff. So that's a thing. Let's see here. I can't wait to see Sony's new Lofic sensor tech that will bring to the table later this year. 17 stops of dynamic range on a cell phone may become a boon for larger small sensors later on. Yeah, that's what's cool. It's like, you know how like Velcro came from NASA? Like you sometimes see these features, you see these capabilities in products that you might not be like, you're like, oh, it's not a product for me. I'm not that interested in that. But you never know how it's going to carry over into other stuff that maybe you do use and you are interested in. So it's always exciting. Razor Baby Media Creation had the original YoloBox a few months after it came out. Oh my God, I had issues. I'm not dissing it. It was literally like, proof of concept's not a bad thing, right? Like it was something that hadn't been done. Like, you know, a little, like a recorder, a monitor, those kinds of things had been done. You know, standalone streamers had been done, but nothing had been done like that ambitious yet. And so the ways that it worked were pretty amazing. The ways that it was like, you know, buggy or glitchy were frustrating. But then it really like grew and developed. And what I will say, like we mentioned Frank's name. If you watch any of the YOLO stuff, I'm sure you've seen Frank. He's great. He was the first person I talked to way back then, and I talked to him through email today because I was like, hey, I'm going to stream with the YoloBox. Here's a link to the stream. So if you're here, hi, Frank. But I think it says something that a lot of the people on that team are the same people all these years later, because especially in like a tech-based industry, people don't stick around at companies for a long time usually. So having people stick around for years and years and work on different versions of a product, that's how you end up with something that is really, really refined. And if something else pops out, if you have like the Temu version of a YoloBox, I don't know if that exists or not, but you know, the version 1 of something else is not going to be, it's kind of like when Sony came out with mirrorless cameras, like the first A7 or whatever back in like 2014, 2015, and it was like, oh, it's really cool, had all these crazy overheating issues, had poor battery life, no autofocus, like it was crazy limited. And then by 2020, when Sony released the FX3, which I'm still using, the A7S III, which I still use, both those cameras are still currently in production 6 years later. They were like so incredibly good because Sony had paid their dues. They had gone through version after version. They'd solved these problems. And then in 2020, when Canon was like, hey, we want to compete, here's the R5. And it's like, oh, it has a lot of reliability issues. We can't figure this out. We had this limitation. They had to kind of, you know, they were starting behind. Now, obviously Canon has, you know, they've also paid their dues and they've caught up and they have, you know, strong things as well. But it's kind of the same thing. Like at that point in 2020, I was one of many people who like canceled my R5 pre-order and went with a Sony camera just because of reliability issues, even though I like initially wanted to stay in the Canon universe. Canon hadn't yet gone through that process of like product development and improvement and all that, whereas, you know, Sony had. So it's kind of the same thing here. YOLO's done that. YOLO is Sony in, you know, 2020, 2021, and any other company that pops out with a competing product is Canon in 2019, where it's like, good try, buddy. You'll get there. I just bought a Rodecaster Duo and the pod mic comes in Saturday. Got these after you watch it, but that's awesome. Play around with all the presets. Don't feel like you have to just use the pod mic preset on the Rodecaster. Try all the other ones, make your own. And I do have a video specifically called How to Make the Pod Mic Sound Its Best, and it deals specifically with dialing in pod mic settings. The pod mic has a very interesting frequency response thing compared to other mics. Specifically how to do that mic on the Rodecaster to kind of make it sound great on any voice. So definitely check that out. Kim, what's up? It's good to see you here. And let's see here. Chuck Martin, what are your thoughts on the 35mm 1.8 Evo? I'm using an older Sony a7 II. I don't know like that specific lens, but a 35mm lens on a full frame sensor is beautiful. On my setup over here, let's go back to the OBSBot. If I go, oops, sorry, it's a little bit mirrored, the controls here. This camera, when I stream from my desk, I don't have this camera as part of my setup today. This is, speaking of Canon, this is my EOS R, and the lens on there is my Canon 35mm f2.0. So when I'm streaming at my desk, when I'm at the setup kind of over here, I'm using a 35mm lens on a full frame camera, and that's just one of my absolute favorite combinations. You know what? I'm going to mute this. There we go. I was watching a stream the other day, or I was listening to a stream as I was like working and stuff, and it was a great stream. I loved it. The person was using a little microphone like this, and every 5 minutes he would take a drink of water, and I was listening on like my AirPods, and I could hear the like sound, and it was like I had to stop the stream. And I love the channel. I love the like. I didn't want to stop it, but I just couldn't deal with the like unintentional ASMR. So I just muted my audio for a second, hopefully, so you didn't have to hear me drink a bunch of water, because you don't need to hear that. Can you just stream to an RTMP endpoint? Yes. Let's go through some of these things. Apologies if I'm behind on the comments. We will get there, don't worry. To me, it's like an embarrassment of riches when I'm like, ooh, we have all these upcoming discussions. So here's, let's also check in on the map. We're filling in. We've got Canada on the map. We've got more specific Australia on the map. I love it. I did learn though, you kind of saw, well, if we go here and we see the comments, I turned on the map, which said it uses a lot of CPU. I'm still only at 55%, so I have plenty of headroom left. If I turn off the map and turn it back on, it will erase all of these. So every time you turn on the map, it's kind of like a clean slate. Just be aware of that. So let's go through some of these settings here because we were asking about what can you stream to. So here are some options here. This is, if you look at the very, very bottom of the screen, there's kind of this thing that there's all these little icons down at the bottom, and each one of those is a page of menu settings. So the first one here, there we go, put that there so you can see me a little bit. The first one is I actually have them ordered. You can customize the order of them. This is the order mine are in. The first one is all the connections. So by default, you can do YouTube. That's what I'm doing right now. You could do Facebook, Twitch, custom RTMP, SRT, and then you can also tap on add new destinations, and there you go. And they try to make it as simple as possible for adding, multiple destinations, new destinations. This is also then where you can choose your streaming mode. You can go for, subscription and increase your plan. When you buy a YoloBox and you sign in for an account, it's all free, which also includes NDI on the Extreme. If you want, all these restreaming and all this kind of crazy, super advanced stuff, there are then paid plans you can go on to do that. And you can see here I'm doing 4K 30 at 25 megabits per second, which I believe was the highest I could do. The next one are my overlays, which I don't really have any here. I have this one from when Bronson and Audio Highline and I were doing a thing back in, January, February, we did a thing. So you can do overlays, you can do a countdown. My starting screen, I just have a video file that has a countdown because it was already existing, but I actually don't need to have the countdown timer baked into the video. I can just make my own here. I can add overlays, if I want all this stuff here, we can do images, we can do titles, we can do timers, we can do video sources as overlays, we can do YoloCast stuff, web URLs, you can even do Aaron Parecki's live chat overlay, built right in. Dang, Aaron. He's on the map. Oh, I don't think he's actually on the map, but he's on the map. Then the next page, we've got our audio mixer, which every input potentially has an audio source. So at the very, very top, we have program and monitor if I had headphones connected, which I don't right now, but that's there. And then you can see each HDMI has its audio. All of mine are turned off except for USB-C, which is my wireless mic. I was actually playing with a delay. So you see the little delay icon? Every source can have a millisecond delay, a delay set in milliseconds added to it if you need to sync things up, which if you're mixing, different types of audio inputs, you're mixing HDMI and USB and NDI and all this stuff, you might need to kind of play with your audio sources a bit to keep things in sync. Today, using no delay with this setup seems to work okay, unless I'm wrong. And then the other video source that I have on is actually video 2, which is my intro graphic countdown thing because it has some music on there. And that way it's just, the music's baked in, it's easy. So when I did the intro, I just had the video on and I had my mic off, so it was muted. And then when there was 5 seconds left, I just unmuted my mic and then switched over to the main shot there. Our next tab is comments. We've kind of already gone through here. You can sort of see here, I can favorite these if I want to. So if I favorite that one, now I go to favorites and that comment's gonna be there. So if I wanna keep track of things I don't wanna forget and I wanna come back to, especially if you've seen channels where it's thousands of people are watching and the chat is just going like crazy, if you wanna try to keep track of things, that's a way to do that there. Currently, I'm only streaming on one source, so the all and the Tom Buck tabs are the same. But if you were streaming to multiple sources, each one could have its own tab. So you could see a mix of everything, or you could see here's everything from YouTube, here's everything from Facebook, or that kind of thing. Our recording option, we're not doing any of that right now, but when I make my videos with the YoloBox, when I use it for that, I record record usually to an attached SSD. There is, was it 220 gigs of internal storage on here? 216 gigs. It says right there. So you can set recording settings. I usually just do program because I'm sort of editing as I'm making it because I'm the one doing everything, so it's a little bit easier. But you can also do ISO recording for all the individual sources, which this is something I really like because on some other things I don't know if they've even adjusted this on the Rodecaster video yet. Or no, not the Rodecaster video. What am I thinking of? There's other devices where when you do ISO recordings, it's either all or nothing. You do a program, that's it, or you have to record everything. And I like that on the YoloBox, you can choose what you want. So if you only want, HDMI 1 and program, then that'll give you your your cut program thing, which you can also then generate an XML file to just throw into your editing software if you want, in addition to whichever source you want. So if you just want the full untouched version from one of those sources, you can do that there. That is super powerful. And then you can do your recording. You can record to an SD card. You can record to internal storage or USB. I usually just use an SSD because it's so easy to then just take the SSD and then plug it into my computer and start editing like instantly. So that's kind of my favorite workflow. We have this, I don't know what this symbol is here, but this is essentially all of the like technical stuff of recording and streaming and all that kind of stuff, which I definitely don't want to change anything here. But if you want to kind of dive in and play with some of these, you know, your encoding formats, your bit rates, your resolution, your frame rate, all that sort of stuff, this is the page to do that. Now, this is something that no one else has come close to being as good with, which is the YoloBox gives you a score, the option to do score, or like a scoreboard. Let me make this bigger here. This is huge, and you can adapt it for all kinds of different sports. So for example, like you can put a timer on here if you want to put a timer. You can, you know, sync it up with the, not physically, but you can, you know, sync it, match it with the clock that's in the arena or the stadium, wherever you're at right there, which is pretty cool. And when you turn on time, you can do countdown, you can play, pause it, you can reset it, you can do all that kind of stuff here. You even have storyboard styling, so this is pretty cool. You can put, like right there it says game name, I could type in, you know, like whatever, championship round 2 or whatever. You can add in team logos. So instead of just being blank, you can actually put their logo, you can put their name, you can change the, you know, to the team colors, you can change the fonts. Oops, I messed that one up there. We'll make that one blue. And then the red team, we'll make the red team more of a, there we go. I don't know, this is awesome. And then when you want to change it, you just, you know, you have team 1 and team 2 here, and I can just boop, boop. Let's pretend I'm team 1, and I'm just gonna roll up the score here. But if I make a mistake and we only got 12 points, I can bump that down. We can reset the score super easily. You can then also, you know, change if you want to, you know, because, sorry, this says first half. Period just means the time thing. So, you know, if you're doing a football game that has 4 quarters, if you're doing a hockey game that has 3 periods, if you're doing a soccer game that has 2 halves, like that lets you kind of dive in there. There's so much that you can do. It's crazy. And here's some presets that are kind of built in there to get you going if you want something more advanced. But you can see for different sports and different styles how you might want to like approach it, what you might want to look like, and then you can customize all these. The fact that that is in there as fully featured as it is, and half the customers might not ever do it because they're not doing sports, blows my mind. Because if you are someone who does sports, when I would do high school broadcasts, I didn't have a YoloBox when we did that. We had, I've talked about this in so many videos, we had a very, now it's overly complicated, like black magic based setup that could have just been a YoloBox and some wireless transmitters. But when we did sports, like we were doing, you know, high school football games and stuff, we literally had, we were using OBS, and we had a PNG file from Photoshop that just, you know, one of my students had made a really cool looking graphic and everything. And so it was there with the team names, basically this exact thing that I would put on here, but it you know, it looked really nice. But to change the score, there was a student that just had Photoshop open, and when one team scored, he would change the score and then like overwrite the save file so that OBS would then just pick it up, and that's how we would change it. It worked, but that's clunky and risk, and it actually takes time too, because it's like the amount of time for someone to score, type it, do it, save it, boop, 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 carry over. It's very different than just like, oh, here's a thing, boop, you know, this team scored, done. This team scored, done. Like, I don't know, the sports functionality is pretty crazy. Then we got replay functionality. So if you want to do instant replays, you want to do slow motion, you want to organize those, you want to change your replay video speed, you want to go in, this is insane. To go from a thing that was like proof of concept, like can a standalone device mix 4 inputs, to this is just insane to me. And then you can also do, which I haven't set up in here, but you can also do like a wipe essentially. So you go to the replay and it's like, you know, like replay or whatever custom graphic or whatever you want to show. Just crazy. Then we've got auto switching. So this is where if you just want to set it on a timer, so it just kind of goes camera 1, 2, 3, 4, you could do that. But there is also, of course, a video follows audio mode. So if you want to then pair this audio source to this camera, this audio source to this camera, and then it auto switches between. That's actually the graphic I showed with Bronson from Audio Hotline. That's something we were doing in that video, was just using auto switching. And that's such a cool feature. That's something that didn't exist until like the Rodecaster video, and the YoloBox implemented it right about the same time. The OC switchers have it as well. And it's cool. Each brand kind of uses their own algorithm as well, because you don't want it to be super mechanical. And what I like, I don't know if I can show you this on here without like, okay. I don't want to mess up any audio on my actual stream, but here, if I go to video follows audio mode, I can then choose the different sources to include, and then I pair them up with video sources. I'm not going to risk messing anything up right now. But you also have the delay sensitivity. So that's like, do you want any sound from a sound source to switch it? Or do you want it to, you know, someone has to be loud enough, or they have to talk for a certain amount of time? You know, there's a decibel threshold, there's a minimum switch duration. So do you want something to stick for at least, you know, 5 seconds on something, or however long? So that way it's not just like, you know, someone clears their throat and the camera cuts to them real quick and it cuts over here, but like starts to look organic. And that's when you get those settings dialed in, that's what will then also start giving you like reaction shots. So it's not just focused on who's talking, but the auto switching will switch to, you know, the person who's listening to see what their reaction is, or it will switch to the, if say you have a 2-shot and then individual close-ups, it would switch to the 2-shot, then it would switch to the speaker, then it would switch to the 2-shot, then the listener, and like in a way that like a person would do it if a person were switching. But you know, if you're going solo, then you don't have that option. We still have more, look at it, this is insane. We have remote guests. So you can literally invite remote guests. They can just use a web browser and just log in using whatever camera or anything, you know, same way you would with like Zoom or Ecamm or Riverside or whatever, just as easy. You can invite guests here. You can send an email thing and send them a QR code. It's pretty cool. The one thing which is strange, and I don't know, there could have been updates, but the last time I used the guest feature, which was a couple months ago, it was with Bronson from Audio Hotline. He also has a YoloBox Extreme, and I was like, oh, this will be awesome. We'll just pair our YOLO boxes together and be YOLO bros. And we actually couldn't. There wasn't like a direct way to just connect two YOLO boxes. Kind of like I thought there might be with like the Rode Call Me feature, where you can like, you know, pair up remote Rodecasters kind of. And I was like, huh. And so he ended up just having to go in the browser and like use that like normal. But it maybe that's a really niche situation that just doesn't need to be done. But it would be kind of cool if, you know, if you have a YOLO box and I have a YOLO box, we can just like automatically connect ours. And that way on your end, you can do switching and graphics and all that stuff. And on my end, I don't know. It could be kind of cool. Could be chaotic, I suppose, too. There's also then a music file thing. So if you want to add music files to the local storage on here, which is actually something I should do instead of baking them into my videos, you can do that right here as well. And then we've got all our transitions. So do you want like default transitions, you know, all that kind of stuff, basic things there. This last thing is actually an option. So there's network bonding. I don't have that one on here because it's not a thing that I use. But this is the ones that are kind of grayed out or pinked out in this case. Those are ones you can't remove. The ones that are red, you can actually take those out. So like if you're never going to use the scoreboard and you know you're never going to use the scoreboard, you can just get rid of it. You don't have to look at it all the time. And then you can also reorder these. So the order that they're in on the bottom, all the settings, it doesn't have to stay that way. So that's, I don't know, that's pretty cool, right? Like that is, when you say the YOLO box is $2,300 or the Extreme is $2,300, because these same features are also in the Ultra, which is half the price, basically. That's a lot. That's a lot, right? When you think of like, otherwise you would be getting, you'd have to get, you know, a Mac and an Ecamm subscription, both of which are amazing tools, right? Because you can also then just use this as a capture card if you want to just USB-C it out to your computer and then just use whatever streaming software and bring in your sources this way, you can do that if you want as well. The flexibility is just insane. The versatility is absolutely insane. Okay, let's get into some conversation. So I think that what I really wanted to do, I mean, we can do anything in the stream, but I really wanted to make sure that we kind of shared the, sorry, Matt, I just saw a super chat on my monitor here that I have not caught up to in the chat here, I don't think. There it is. You have funded multiple date nights, which honestly, though, it has been a crazy, busy, stressful couple weeks. So this is nice. And also Heather's birthday is next week. So I'll be sure that we do something really fun with that and that we toast your name while we do that. Let's see here. The gist with Jared. Any tips on getting better at speaking extemporaneously for talking head videos? I'm more used to scripted speaking from previous work. Oh my gosh. It is practice. So much like anything, I don't know, dancing, music, whatever, like some people just have an innate ability that's just stronger than others, but it's something that everyone can learn to a degree. When I was a teacher, the thing we used to do for extemporaneous speaking was, I did this with senior students. So I taught English and then I taught a career technical program. It was digital media, but it's like we're trying to prepare students to go for job interviews in college and, you know, work, you know, directly into like industries and things. So being able to speak well is good. What we would do is I would have students stand up and they just had to talk for 60 seconds, but they couldn't use any filler words like, they just had to speak clearly with no filler words about whatever for 60 seconds. So I would always tell them just, you know, tell me a story from what happened this morning. Talk about your breakfast, talk about getting to school, or just look around the room and describe stuff. You know, you just stand up and you're like, I'm standing in a room right now. The temperature is pretty comfortable. I'm wearing a sweater. I don't really feel too hot. I don't feel too cold. I see there's a poster on the wall over there. I'm not really into that poster. Like, you know, talk about whatever you want. As soon as they said like or I had a little bell that I would ring. Actually, I think I have the bell right here. Because it's very important that you see the bell. Oh, here, yeah. It was this bell. And so if they did a thing, it'd be ding. And then they had 3 chances. If they didn't do it in 3 chances, they would do it the next day. Every year, you know, I had classes of 40 plus students, and every year it'd be like, oh, this will be a fun thing we do this week. It would often take, we wouldn't do it like the whole day or anything. We'd spend, you know, 15 minutes, 10 minutes sometimes at the beginning of a few class periods throughout the week. Like nothing crazy. But it would sometimes take us 2 months to get through everybody to do it because it's hard. But it was like such a victory when students would do it. And then after that, every student in the class was so tuned in to filler words and, you know, poor public speaking that then when other teachers or counselors would come in and they'd be, you know, like, hey guys, I just want to tell you about the college application deadline. So like, it just needs to be turned in on Friday. All my students would just look at me and be like, oh my God, this is terrible. I'm like, I know, it's crazy. So it's just, and you know, I still use filler words all the time. That's a different thing though. Filler words is becoming comfortable with silence and realizing that you can say something, you can pause for a second, you can gather your thoughts, and you can continue. Because a lot of times when you use filler words, it's almost like your brain saying, especially in Western culture, I feel like a lot of other countries and like Asian cultures, this is a little different. In Western culture, it's almost like there's a fear of if there's a bit of silence or you don't talk, someone's gonna start talking and take away the thing. So you want to like keep everybody's attention, and so you have to keep using whatever filler words just to get your thoughts going. But it's actually okay to pause, think, keep going. And those pauses in the middle of when you're talking, in your mind, they feel super long. To the viewer, to the audience, to the person you're talking to, it's super quick. And it's just something to get comfortable with. If you're editing videos, that doesn't really matter. You can just edit out that stuff, but being able to do that will make your editing a lot easier. Speaking extemporaneously on topics is a little bit different, and a lot of that is just practice. Like, you know, if if you ask me to talk about how a V8 combustion engine works, it's not something I could really speak super extemporaneously about. If you want me to talk about the features of the YoloBox, an old camcorder, a 3D printer, a Mark Hoppus signature bass. Oh my gosh, you want to know about Travis Barker's history going from Blink-182 or going from the Aquabats to Blink-182? Sit back, I got you. So if it's something you're familiar with, obviously it's probably easier to speak extemporaneously about it. New things, though, it doesn't have to just mean as life experience. You know, for example, the YoloBox. Say I didn't know anything about this. I got a YoloBox, know nothing about it, probably couldn't speak about it. I start using it, I start tinkering with it, okay, that's cool. I start making notes to do a video, I record and make a review on it, maybe I make a tutorial about it, then I do a live stream with it like this. By that point, once you've gone through the reps with something and you've thought about it and you've tried to communicate and you've tried to piece things together, now that knowledge is just sitting in your brain. And so then when somebody asks, hey, like what's the deal with the YoloBox? Then you go, you just unleash because you can speak extemporaneously about it. So it's kind of a constant process of, you know, it's your certain areas of expertise, which isn't going to be everything. And being comfortable with silence and just building up the skill set. That stuff is, it is like a superpower. And I say this as someone who used to get like panic attacks before doing public speaking. It is like a superpower if you can kind of overcome that and be somebody who is comfortable talking in front of others, who is comfortable talking off the top of your head. I'm laughing because last month, my wife Heather and I did a couple of speaking things in front of groups, like local groups. And one of them was in front of a group of college students who were going into different industries. We were asked to speak essentially about like starting your own business and like entrepreneurship and our like journeys as content creators. And the theme of that day, it was sort of like they had speaker days once a month for this like student group. And the theme of that day, they're like, it's all about leadership. So if you can tie in any lessons to leadership, that would be great. And we're like, okay. And so Heather and I, you know, we're figuring out what we want to say, the different things we want to hit. We're making slides and we're trying to go like, okay, here's all the ways that even though we work solo, we're self-employed with no employees, right? Like, how are you a leader when you're self-employed? Okay, here's all the things that we've learned about leadership and that. As they were introducing us, the person introducing us was like, oh, here's Tom and Heather, and they do this. And since the theme of today is education, we thought they'd be great speakers. And we looked at each other and we're like, oh, we were told the entirely wrong theme, and now we're being introduced with a different theme. And we just kind of went with it because there's plenty to talk about. You know, we had plenty of experience when it came to education to talk about, but, you know, we, without even being able to communicate to each other, had to shift the entire focus of our talk as we were being introduced, which was kind of funny. I'm going to mute myself. There we go. I hope that actually muted. Otherwise, you just listen into the water. Let's see here. It says a lot that I know the first name of the person who helped design the YoloBox. Yeah, I mean, and that's what's cool is like Frank is, frankly, pretty awesome. There's obviously a whole team. It's not one person, but Frank is kind of, you know, when there's a feature that you want implemented, when there's a problem, when there's a thing on the horizon, when there's, you know, they want to make their own webcam, but now they're only using third-party lenses, but they want to make their own lenses. Like Frank is the person who's there, and he's in it all the time, so he's super in tune with the user groups, especially there's a huge Facebook user group for YOLO stuff. And, you know, if enough people make enough noise in there or just share something cool, boop, it gets thrown into updates. And that's like, I've talked about this before in other videos. It's kind of a philosophy with like YOLO that I really admire. And I like that there are different products that have different philosophies. So the Rodecaster video, for example, I think has the opposite philosophy. The Rodecaster video, and I feel like maybe they're getting a little more comfortable now. It's been out for a while, and there's, you know, there's not just the Rodecaster video, there's the S and the Core. And so they're kind of branching out a little bit, but they're very, very conservative with making any changes, updating things, adding features, because they want they don't just want reliability, but they almost want like foolproof reliability. Like anybody, someone who doesn't even know what this thing is, it just got dropped on their desk and now they have to open it up and use it. They can use it and it's going to work reliably. The YoloBox is honestly very, very reliable, but you saw all the settings, right? It's not that it isn't reliable, it's that I, as the user, can very easily make some changes that mess things up. I can mess up some frame rate, some bit rate, some connection things. I can have issues with my password. There's a lot of stuff that I can mess up. So there's a lot more accountability on me as the user to understand the device to get what I want out of it. But there's a lot more I can do with it. There's just a lot more options there. And when it comes to firmware updates, YOLO is a lot more willing to like put everything they can out there and then let you decide what you need, even if it means some limitations. For example, let's look, I just want to switch angles because it's fun, but let's go back to the OBSBot camera here. This has 8 HDMI inputs, but only 5 of them are 4K capable. And that's just because that's what this processor, this GPU, whatever, all the things in here can reliably handle is 5 4K inputs. Keep in mind, 5 4K inputs is a lot. But I think there are some companies out there that would either be, this is an 8 input switcher, so that either means all 8 need to be 4K or it's just 0. Whereas YOLO's like, YOLO, there's 8 inputs. You can use all 8 in 1080, no problem. If you want 4K, you can only use 5 of them. And then it's up to you as the user to decide if that works for you. Do you need more than 5 4K HDMI inputs? Or is that enough? Do you only need 3? Do you need 5? Whatever. And I really like that. It does mean that you have to spend more time making sure that you have things dialed in for your workflow. And it does mean that the things I dial in for me aren't going to be copy paste for you or somebody else. Like you have to actually spend time learning the tool, which just, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, in a world of instant gratification, and you know, if you ever read any product reviews or even watch some YouTube reviews and stuff where it's like, if something has the slightest bit of friction, 0 stars, total failure. What a waste, literally unusable kind of situation. And it's like, oh, or you just needed to read the manual, or you just need to spend an afternoon figuring it out how it works, and then you can do kind of amazing stuff with it. And I like that YOLO puts that trust in the user to figure that out and to decide what works for them. But it's also good that there are other options as well, where it's like a Rodecaster Video is a very powerful device that has very advanced things, but it's also a little more foolproof, but it also can't do as much, like, because of that. So, you know, there's always compromises with every device, right? Keep up the great work, watching and learning for years. Well, thank you for sticking around that long. I appreciate it. Tony checking in from North Carolina. What's up? Let's look at the map. Where are we at? Boom. That's really filling in. That's so cool. I love this feature. This is fun. I like it a lot. Are you using the YoloBox with Ecamm? I know I'm like out of, I'm behind on the comments. Yes, you can use it with Ecamm. When you connect it through USB to your computer, it just becomes a selectable source in any Ecamm, OBS, Zoom, whatever, you know, anything, it'll be there. The Shane Norwood Show was just offered a position as CTE, Arts, Media, Entertainment teacher at the high school where I'm currently employed in a non-teaching capacity. Oh, that was exactly what I was, a CTE, Arts, Media, and Entertainment. I was in California. I don't know if you're in California. Advice for a new teacher is... Okay, there's a lot of advice. Feel free to email me if you want more specific things. CTE is very cool. It's career technical education, and so it is geared towards giving students industry experience. So arts, media, entertainment, for me, that was digital media, but it's like, it doesn't even necessarily mean that every student needs to be a videographer, an animator, a director, whatever. It's kind of like they're gonna learn really valuable skills. You know, some CTE programs are health related. Not every kid's gonna be a doctor or a nurse or whatever, but they're gonna learn a lot that's going to be helpful anywhere they go. Communication, critical thinking, problem solving, perseverance, like all that kind of stuff. CTE programs really built those in. no matter what the students end up doing. If they are interested in those careers, then they get really cool resume building, portfolios, sometimes internship, industry experience, sometimes even college credit while they're in the classes. So it does actually help kind of kickstart where they want to go in their future. And sometimes students learn that's not what they want to do. They think they want to go into arts, media, entertainment. They do a pathway and they're like, actually, not for me. Or, whatever, medicine. No, don't want to do that. And that's a good thing too. Always a good thing to figure out what you don't want to do. So keeping that in mind, I think, I'm guessing your program very rarely is a CTE program a 1-year program. They're usually, mine was a 4-year program, some could be 2 or 3. I think it's always important to kind of backwards plan. Like, where do you want say you're running a 3-year program, where do you want students to be by the end of year 3? What do you need to do at year 2 to get them there? What do you need to do at year 1 to get them where they need to be at year 2? Like, backwards planning is a very useful thing in all aspects of life because it makes sure every stage along the way has a purpose. Which also then means when your students go like, why are we doing this? You can actually answer the question because there's a clear purpose. So having that plan of like what you want your class or your program or your pathway to look like is really important. But also don't expect that year 1 is going to look like that. So I taught CTE I was full-time CTE for 9 years. Yeah. I know, it's sort of gray, maybe 10. There's sort of like gray areas. But the first school I was at is sort of similar to you. I was actually an English teacher, and I had, the principal knew that I had a background. I was the yearbook teacher as well, so I was doing a little bit of like photo and design stuff. He also just knew that I was into this kind of stuff just on the side, and I always had been. We had a CTE program that was a really well-run, established program that had 2 sides. One side was this digital imaging. The program is still there. I haven't been the teacher for 10 years, but one side is digital imaging, which is like photography, animation, game design, that kind of stuff. And the other side was digital storytelling, which is video, audio production, journalism, that kind of thing. And they're essentially like 2 separate pathways in the same big program. It was a big, like full-on academy within the state of California. Super cool. Still is. I keep speaking in the past tense. It still is. I took over the digital storytelling side of it, and it was kind of in shambles. At that point, like the digital imaging side was a well-run CTE program. The digital storytelling side was like not. It was a mess. It took me a full school year to just fully like empty out the classroom of like garbage and stuff. It was a mess. But throughout that time, over those years, I ended up rewriting all the courses, rebuilding the classroom, getting all the new equipment. Like I started there in 2012, and they were still shooting on tape when they were doing video. Keeping in mind that there were several Canon 5D Mark IIs in the equipment locker, and I was like, keep in mind 2012, I was like, can't those do video? They were being used in television and movies and stuff at the time. And the teacher who had run the program was like, yeah, I guess you could shoot a little video with those if you wanted, but we use this, which was like a Canon GL2. And I was like, it's 2012 and that's out of date, man. And so that's kind of where we were. And so I was talking with students, what they were interested in, rebuilt the program to be much more geared towards like videography, filmmaking, that kind of stuff, audio production, podcasting. Well, streaming was not really a thing, but eventually it kind of moved into that. By the end of the 4 or 5 years that I was with that program, both sides, the imaging and the storytelling side, were like full-on powerhouses, and still are to this day, and just so well-run, well-oiled, because it wasn't just me on my side, it was the other teacher, the other CTE teacher, and then we had our program in every of the 4 grade levels for high school, 9 through 12, or maybe it was only 10 through 12 officially, had like an academy English teacher, math teacher, social science teacher for every one of those levels. So it was like the kids would go to an English class, but we would like tie in projects with English, and then all the teachers would meet, and you would know like this kid's really struggling here, or like they're failing English, they can't check out a camera until they pass English, that kind of thing. Then I switched schools to a district that it was a beautiful campus, like brand new campus. The district did not have an arts and entertainment program, so I was the first one starting from scratch, just a 1 teacher, 4-year program. And so, so it was literally like zero equipment. Like the first start of the first school year was like, hey, students, do you guys have phones that you would actually like to use during class? Because it'd be great if we could use your cameras to like film these projects. To the point where we ended up with over $1 million worth of equipment, like full on studio stuff over like a 5-year period. And it really wasn't, so that first year I knew, having gone from the program I was at, which was just firing on all cylinders, winning awards from the state of California, helping other programs get started, going from that to literally like nothing and starting from scratch, I knew where I wanted to be, but we weren't going to get there in that first, like the students didn't even know what the pathway was. The other teachers didn't know what it meant. Like the counseling department didn't know how to effectively schedule students so that way, like, hey, make sure they're in this class every year, like that kind of thing. And so it really took, it wasn't until I would say the 3rd year that it was like, maybe there were glimpses of it in the 2nd year where it was like, okay, it's starting to spark up here. And then the 3rd year was, it's like, oh, this is firing on all cylinders now. And then it felt good. So all that to say, my 48-minute answer to your question about the CTE thing is know where you want to go, have plans in place to get there. Do not expect to get there year 1. Like, take your time, build the foundation. You'll have students who are going to be the leaders, or the kids that are just super into it, and those are the ones that it's like, let them help you build the program. And what's kind of interesting too is like the 2nd program I started, especially since that was from scratch, the stuff that the seniors were doing the first year then became the stuff the juniors were doing the next year, which became the stuff the sophomores were doing the following. Eventually, like, the freshmen were doing the types of things that the seniors were doing that first year, but there just wasn't the skill set or the infrastructure to get there. And then by the time a student has gone through 3 or 4 years of the program, like, their skill level is like at a professional or semi-professional level if they put in that much time and effort. Whew. I like that. Sorry, teaching is hard, but it's very, very fun. Can you live on TikTok and IG? Yes, you can. Including vertical, which is very, very cool. Yeah, if I were still teaching, instead of the insane live streaming setups that we had, I would use a lot of Rodecaster videos and YOLO boxes. I would use Rodecaster videos for like studio podcast setups. You know, just obviously it'd be easier for running audio and stuff. And I would use these for all the events, graduations and stuff. And I would pair them with wireless things like the Hollyland wireless kits, so that way I don't have to run cables across football fields and stuff, or gyms. And then I talked about this recently on a stream, I feel like, but the old workflow was so intense that like it would take several hours to set things up, then the event, and several hours to break things down. And most of that's usually after a school day. So like the day ends and then you have to start, it's basically another full work day, and it's physical and it's exhausting. And sometimes you're fighting the weather and stuff. Being able to just like whip out a YoloBox and some cameras with transmitters on it, some simple audio solutions, like, especially because every HDMI source can just use audio. So if you have a microphone and a camera, now it's essentially, it'd be wireless audio. It wouldn't just make things easier, but because it's easier, it means you could do more. Like we didn't do like every football game, every whatever. It's like we would sort of pick like these highlight games throughout the year to do, these highlight events. Graduation's obviously a huge one. We would sort of pick these things that were worth investing that amount of time versus like, hey, let's just do the Friday night football game because it'd be awesome. You know, and we can keep score in here. So anyway, I would totally build a whole program around these things. How does the network bonding work? I don't know. I'm like the worst network person. Anytime you want to combine live streaming and network stuff, go check out Aaron Parecki's channel because he's the mastermind of that, and I don't want to learn any of it. Oh, Matt. You're very, very kind. Thank you. That means a lot. Let's see here. Ryukin, when I want to talk, say, or process something, my brain just fails, and it was a silly moment that make talking head videos. And that's also okay. Like, leaving in those human moments in your videos is fine. A lot of times people are also speaking in not their first language, so that's okay. You know, like, oh, here's Heather. Yay. I don't know if you saw Matt's gifts, Heather, but you should check him out. Oh, she did. See, I'm behind the times. Do you have a favorite DSLR camera? If we're talking about DSLRs, and I'm being super pedantic here, but that's because my answer differs. If we're talking about DSLRs, as in like the older cameras with a mirror, it would be this one right here, the Canon 6D Mark II. I love this camera. I had the original 6D. The original 6D was my first full frame camera, which was just magical, but it had no clean HDMI out, it had no autofocus for video, and it had no flippy screen. So the 6D Mark II had a flippy screen, video autofocus, but still also no clean HDMI out. That was a bummer. Anyway, definitely this camera, it's just quite a powerhouse, especially 1080 workflow back in like 2017, 2018. Amazing. The reason I was being so like pedantic about that was because I didn't know if you meant actual like DSLR old school or interchangeable lens camera, which could be a modern mirrorless camera. If that's what you mean, then my answer would be this camera right here, the Sony FX3, which I love all of my Sony cameras. I have the FX3, the A7S III, and the A7 IV. They're all fantastic. But the FX3 has been my main camera for a long time now, 5 years, and I just love it. I have zero desire to upgrade, even when the focus did a weird thing at the start of the stream. I think that was more user error than anything, so it'd be the Sony FX3. Although I did, check this out. I brought in, I have my MacBook connected as an HDMI source. Let me see if I can pop something up here. I did a cool thing with my A7 IV, and this is like, the A7 IV is such a good hybrid camera. You know, you want to get into photos and stuff as well. But check this angle out. Hopefully it's still going. It's been a while since I tested it. Boop, there we go. Here's my MacBook, just connected through HDMI with a little picture-in-picture. I took some photos this morning because it is our golden retriever Ben's 11th birthday. Why is this framed this way? I don't know. Anyway, it's Ben's 11th birthday. I always love to do birthday photos of our dogs on their birthday. And then he just happened to sit in like the perfect K-drama lighting, soaking up the sun, just being a good boy. And this was all with the A7 V and the Zeiss 85mm lens, just with the animal eye autofocus. So it's like so easy. Even when he's like rolling around and stuff, like it just locks on the eye, and then it can just do such crazy high frame rates. So having a camera like that I can just like literally, Heather had like a doctor's appointment this morning, and so I woke up, I like exercised a bit, got ready to go, was like, hey Ben, let's go do birthday photos, and then edit them on Lightroom, even put them on my phone. And then by 8:30, we left to go to the appointment. Like, that's crazy. It used to be so hard to do like good looking photos, to have something so capable just at the ready. Oh man, it's fantastic. Fantastic. I wonder if, sorry, I'm seeing Nathan's thing about the freedom from YOLO, and I'm wondering if you can see this, because you can bring down different stats and stuff as well, which is pretty fun. Ecamm can stream in 4K. That's a tongue twister. Yes, Ecamm can. Ecamm can. I turned 20. Oh, it was your birthday this week. Happy birthday. 21. That's a big one. Now everyone's making everyone else feel old or young. In 2012, I was shooting on tape for TV, but barely. I know it was still a thing in 2012, especially for established workflows, but like, I feel like for a digital media program, I'm looking at the wrong camera. For a digital media program for students, it should be like, come on. And when you have several 5D Mark IIs just literally sitting on a shelf collecting dust. It was crazy because it was sort of weird because the teacher of that program left pretty abruptly, like 5 or 6 weeks into the school year. And so that's when I came in, which is strange. If I had like known like during the summer that I was going to take over that program, I would have gone in and like redone the classroom, redone everything, whatever. But it's like he was a pretty beloved teacher. The students really liked him, and they had been used to the program. And so I didn't want to show up mid school year and make all these changes. I wanted to kind of like get a lay of the land a little bit. So we started by just kind of like keep going with the regular projects, and he was running it much more like a journalism program, which is great. Journalism is important. But it was like, I remember I had these students, they would be like, hey, yeah, I'm supposed to do a story about like road construction downtown, and I can't talk to anyone at City Hall about like why it's taking so long. And I was like, do you care about why it's taking so long? They're like, no. And I was like, do you want to keep doing this? And they're like, no. And I was like, I don't want to read this story either. And so we all kind of came to the conclusion that like, well, you don't want to do it and I don't want to grade it, so let's do something else. And what I realized was for these weird journalism, not weird, I shouldn't say weird, but boring journalism assignments that journalism doesn't have to be boring. These were boring assignments that also like there was no audience for. Who is a high school kid reading about road construction? No, they're not. So what I realized is students would say like, hey, can I get the photo camera? And they would go like, whatever, take a picture of a pothole downtown, rent the camera out for a weekend, and then go start making videos with it because they knew it could shoot video. And I was like, okay, instead of you like faking work on this assignment you don't want to do and I don't want to grade and no one wants to read, just so you can do cool stuff that you actually want to do that's like just as relevant, why don't we just make that the program, like the thing that you're doing in secret? How about we just do that for real, like as the thing? And it's like, that's what the class actually is. And so we rewrote the courses and stuff. But point being, yes, there were still definitely tapes in 2012, but it was like, I couldn't believe like multiple 5D Mark IIs not being utilized for video with beautiful lenses as well. Just blew my mind. And a full Mac lab, so no shortage of like being able to edit or anything. You know how I could change my fan LEDs because I see you have a custom PC. There's different apps and stuff to do this. I added, when I got this PC, it did not have this much RGB in it, but I've been used to this for so long. This is as flashy as you're gonna get. So when it's like moving parts and colors, I went a little crazy. You can do it, the BIOS for your computer, which is like attached to the motherboard, often will have ways of changing the RGB, but also like this has an MSI brand motherboard in it, and MSI has an app, so I can just go in here and change the colors that way. Depending on like the fans that you get, or even just some other third-party apps, you can control it that way. I strongly recommend, speaking from experience, I strongly recommend using the manufacturer's app to control your colors. So whatever brand your motherboard is, they probably have some kind of software app that will let you adjust that. Because I had to replace my motherboard last fall because I fried it using an app called OpenRGB, which is supposed to be like super easy way to like, you know, sometimes if your GPU, your RAM, your fans, all the things have like different RGB and they have different apps to work. OpenRGB kind of combines them all into one. And it's not malicious software, but it's, you know, it's like kind of like open source, small team developed software that just, it doesn't work well with MSI motherboards, and it literally fries them where you can't, they are not repairable anymore and you have to replace them. I'm not the only person this has happened to, but it did happen to me. And so I learned, just stick with the MSI app. I just have mine on, you know, full RGB craziness all the time because I like it. Thanks so much for your answer. I'm teaching in California. I'll shoot you an email. Yeah, please feel free. Tom@himynameistom.com is the email. And also if you go to, see, I'm glad I brought my computer here real quick. Wait, no. What am I doing? There we go. I'm trying to bring up a thing before I switch over here. Boop. If you go to my website, hi, my name is Tom.com, and you click on About, there is a curriculum section. I don't know if this will even be relevant to what you're doing, but I did take all of the course descriptions. So like when I talk about creating a course, like here's like my intermediate course description. Like you can actually just see the whole thing if you want to like, this could be out of date at this point, but if you wanted to like write your own courses or adapt courses, you could do it that way. And then I also took all my project prompts. These are just Google Drive. This is just a Google Drive folder, but if you want to see like rubrics or different project prompts or whatever, they're all in there, and feel free to use them because I'm not using them anymore and I want someone to use them. I wonder if Aaron's nose, his ears are on fire right now. Rob Fernando here. Sorry I missed the beginning of the stream. No worries. You do such a great job with your presentation on your videos. Do you have suggestions for people looking to improve? This is interesting. This is, oh, sorry, Rob. Yes, we talked through email the other day. I've been getting this question more and more lately, like at least once per stream, which is cool. And the answer, as boring as it is practice. And I can say that as someone doing a live stream right now, after 11-year career as a teacher, after being a college student and high school student who was terrified of public speaking. Like when I had to take public speaking in college, and I literally couldn't sleep the night before my speeches, even if it's literally like do a 5-minute expository speech, like pick a topic and talk about it. I couldn't, oh my God. When students would do the like everyone in the class would do like kind of like feedback forms on your speech, so many times people had literally no idea what I was talking about. I did a whole speech on They Might Be Giants once, which was even more confusing because both the guys in the band are named John, and everyone was just like, I don't know, he just said John a lot. So to go from that, and then throughout college, I got better at public speaking just because I had to do it so much. And the thing I learned, especially when it came to presentations and stuff or answering questions or whatever, was like, I just wanted to go home. I was always working at least 1 or 2 jobs during college and taking a full-time course schedule. So it's like, if I'm here at the 6 to 10 p.m. class and we have the chance to get out of here at 9:45, like I want to get out of here at 9:45. And, you know, a teacher would ask like, hey, who wants to go first for presentations? And the whole space, nobody's volunteering. I just learned, be the one that goes first, be the first person to answer a thing, just to like get the ball rolling. Because I just for the sake of efficiency, and that like made me more comfortable. Because also too, then when I started going first, it's like I might not give the best presentation, but I'm gonna give the best presentation you've seen so far because I'm the only one you've seen so far. And then now I just get to sit back and coast for the rest of the time while everyone else is stressed out, like putting theirs off to the end. So that was kind of like necessity in college. By the end of college, I felt more comfortable with that. And then, which was funny because I knew I was going to school to be a teacher. When I was student teaching and I had to be I had no problem with the idea of talking to students mentally. Physically, I would just start dripping sweat to the point where it's crazy because I was wearing a shirt and tie and being very professional and all the things. And it's like literally I would have sweat stains that would just, I couldn't wear light colored shirts because they would just show it. So I learned to try to wear patterns. I even got these things that are like sticky pads, big sticky pads that you put in your armpits of your shirts to like hide your sweat. And those felt better. And then it was like, I had to do that the whole time I was student teaching. And then when I got my first like actual teaching job, I was still using those. And it was maybe like around Thanksgiving or Christmas time of that, like a few months into that year that I realized like, hey, I don't think I need my sweat pads anymore. Like the training wheels can come off, and I just got used to it. It felt, you put in the hours, you get used to it. And then, at the time I would have, here's whole lesson plans and I'm writing things out by the last, not even the last few years, the last half of my teaching career, my lesson plans were note cards that just said like attendance, rule of thirds, project reminders. And it's like, I knew what it was. I'd done it so many times. And then to the point where, like I mentioned just a couple weeks ago, when Heather and I were giving a presentation, they could change the topic on us during the intro, and it's like, whatever, it's no problem. The more, it's just practice. And I like to say that because it sounds easy when, if you're someone who doesn't feel like you're good at public speaking, or you feel really nervous about it and it feels impossible, you know, everyone has different thresholds and tolerances and stuff. But as someone who used to get panic attacks, not sleep, drenched in sweat, had to buy special sweat reduction products for it, sweat concealing products, to the point where it's like completely, like, I do not care. I want to do a good job. I care about doing a good job when I speak publicly, but like the being in front of people, I don't care about that at all anymore. For years now, like, if I can do it, it really is, anyone can do it, and it's just practice. Have you seen rumors of the FX5? I have not. Let's still check the internet here. Oh, here we go. Well, the AI overview, we know this is going to be accurate. The highly anticipated Sony FX5 is an upcoming compact cinema camera positioned to sit between the FX3 and professional Venice lineup. Did they get rid of like the FX9, FX6 and stuff? I'm curious, because obviously the AI overview is, you know, very often not correct, but that's the first I've heard of it. Is the FX3 that much better than the A7 IV? It depends. If you're using it for photos, it's worse. If you're using it for video, it depends. Do you need 4K 120? Yes, the FX3 is better. Do you need a camera that will never, ever, ever, ever overheat no matter what? Yes, the FX3 is better. Do you need a camera that's, you know, the most insane possible low light performance? The FX3 is a little better. Otherwise, the A7 IV is just as good. I had an A7 IV for a long time. I upgraded to the A7 V earlier this year because my A7 IV had like a weird defect. It was just my specific camera. If it didn't have that defect, I would have kept it. So I love the A7 V. It is a nicer camera, but the A7 IV is an absolute beast, and I love it. It's great. Matt's IT degree was punch cards. What program do you use to record live? I'd switch. Right now, everything is being done right here through the YoloBox Extreme. So the built-in software of the YoloBox Extreme. But if I'm using my PC back here, I use OBS. And if I'm using my Mac here, I use Ecamm. So it depends. I have the most inconsistent streaming setup. Something changes every single time. But that's fun to me. Like, it's fun to try. That's why I have, like, why is this camera here? I've cut to it 3 times throughout this whole hour-and-a-half stream. I don't know. It's fun, though. It's a good-looking, tiny webcam. It looks great. How do I make my videos attractive as a music creator? I mean, that's like, that I don't know. Like, I have seen people literally just use cinematic mode on their phone. Like, they put their phone over here, turn on cinematic mode, and they sit there with a guitar and they play it, and it looks amazing. You know, focus on composition, lighting, environment design, and you can do amazing things just with a phone. Music, the cool thing with music, like, I don't know what gear you're using, what skill level you're at, what goals you have. I will say with music, it's inherently interesting. Watching someone play an instrument is interesting. Instruments themselves, that's why, let's go over here to the OBS bot again. If we zoom out and go over here, hello, swoop, 3D printer, that was for a video from earlier, ignore the mess. That's why I have my guitars on the wall over here, right? Because these are, I don't want them on a rack. They are pretty, they're beautiful, they're works of art, each one has a story. So seeing just the instrument itself is really fun and beautiful and interesting. And then seeing someone actually play it and use it is also really cool and engaging. So just, you know, when it comes to music, seeing someone engage with the process, those are guitars and basses, seeing someone play the drums, seeing someone even work on like a keyboard, seeing a DJ at a, you know, a turntable mixer, it's all like really, really cool. So showing that music, I feel, is definitely much more of a show, don't tell kind of situation. Let's see. I want to be a content creator, but I don't know what program to go live and show videos of me watching someone's videos at the same time. So you can do like reaction kind of stuff. Most streaming software can do that. the best place to begin is with OBS because it's super powerful and best of all, it's free. So $0 is a great price. And there's no paid tier or anything. It's just $0 period. And then what you would do in OBS is you would add your browser as a source. You would basically create this. This is my computer right now, but in OBS, you can take your internet browser, pop that in here, pull up somebody's videos. You can put yourself in the corner as an overlay with your webcam, and there you go. And you bring in the audio from each sources, and you're good to go. So that's OBS for sure is the place to start. I see Mark is here, but it's blank. I don't know if that was something that didn't come through on the YoloBox or what. Oh, thanks. The question was answered. Matt says, another Leica Q3 user and fellow senior citizen. Well, oh, Mark. Oh, okay, yeah. Mark's great. Oh, Botox helps reduce success. For me, it was clearly anxiety, and it is crazy how it just went away. Where now, if I'm in front of a group and I'm sweating, I know it's because it's hot. Like, oh, it is hot in here, that's why I'm sweating. It's not because I'm panicking. But it was crazy. Like, I can't even tell. It wasn't just like, oh, you have a little sweat stain. It was like the whole side here, my whole back, then kind of like here. Oh, and then you're in front of teenagers. They can be a lot more kind than you would expect, but they also will absolutely be like, hey man, what's up with that? What you doing over here with all this sweat? And it becomes awkward and uncomfortable. You know what? Matt says, gotta go walk the dog. See you later. Happy early birthday, Heather. You know what? Speaking of birthdays and dog walking, it's super hot here, but we're getting into the evening and I want to make sure to take our dog on a birthday walk. So I think this is probably a good place to wrap it up. If anyone has any last minute questions there, let's check out our map. If you want to get on the map real quick at the end, you can just say hello from blank wherever you're at. We've got people all over the world. No one from the African continent on the map yet. No one from Greenland. No one from Russia yet. But doesn't mean there's not people in those places, just no one has like put it in the chat. So anyway, this was super fun. Thank you for hanging out on a Thursday night. This was actually like really, really fun. I kind of enjoyed the evening stream. So appreciate everybody's feedback here and just trying to figure out, I like streaming. And ultimately, it just kind of comes down to schedule. Like, if it's like, oh my gosh, I have time, I'll stream whenever that happens to be, is kind of when it is. But if I know, like, more people, like, significantly more people prefer this day or time versus this one, I can definitely try and make that happen. Like, more people prefer weekday mornings, weekday evenings, weekends, whatever, I can try to make that happen. So there we go. Hello from Birmingham, Alabama. That means, boom, you were added to the map, but it's right at the end of the stream. So apologies for the bad timing. Hope you can enjoy the replay. I'm going to do something fun here, though, which is I'm going to wrap up the stream, but I'm going to play the credits that you can do now. Wait, what was this? Oh, I turned on auto trigger. That was weird. I'm going to turn on the viewer credits, and I don't know, that'll be fun. Hey, Violet, what's up? It's good to see you here. So I'm going to go back to my video. This video says stream starts. Just know the stream doesn't start. That's just my ending thing, but I just want to play around with this credits thing here. So appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a safe, happy, healthy, fun rest of your day, rest of your evening, your night, and I'll see you next time. Let's do this. Let's roll credits. Let's mute microphone.